to listen to the Zoom, and my AD walked in, and she was like listening, and she's a very godly woman, so that was
Yeah, yeah. Tell her ADs are great. No, that'd be great. Trey Waters was on there from the state.
I saw that, and
You
I
know.
was actually on a call with him prior to that. It was ironically enough a AD meeting.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
I still
Hey.
try to get my credits for you know NIAAA and trying to do some advancement like that, even though I'm not an AD anymore. So I stayed active in that, and I like to network and learn from those guys. So he was on that call prior to me going into the call with you guys.
Oh, that is so cool. He's a really nice guy. I really like him a lot.
Right, right. So first of all, appreciate you having you on. You're probably like a little unsure what's going on. What we're doing with, have you ever heard of Wrestling Mindset, number one?
Yeah, I have. I have.
Good deal. So I know we have a spiritual component as well. It's called Spiritual Mindset. Are you familiar with Gene or Jeff or any of the guys that started the Zanetti brothers?
Where are they out of?
I think Gene is in New York right now, the epicenter of the coronavirus, and I believe Jeff's living in the same
Wow.
spot. But they wrestled at the University of Penn.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So
Cool. Yeah, I don't know them personally. Hey, can you hear me okay, Chase?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. 'Cause I have headphones on, and I usually use my speaker. So I just wanted to check with you, see if it's okay.
Right, right. And I'm recording this. Is that okay with you?
Yep, yep, absolutely.
Okay, cool deal. First of all, tell us about your ministry. How's FCA going right now, especially with the times we're in?
Well, like we talked about earlier, I have become a Zoom master, and all my ministry is done over Zoom calls individually with the coaches at University of North Carolina with our kids. We do a Bible study for them and also meet individually. And also on Friday, we did the first North Carolina, South Carolina wrestling coaches Bible study. And so so it's going well. It's crazy times, but we're trying to use these times to connect with people and just to give them hope during this time.
Absolutely. Hope is something that seems lost. Everyone's fearful, staying inside. What kind of recommendation would you give these guys to give them some hope? Just people around the world.
Well, I always go to the Bible. It's a book of hope. It's a victorious book. It was written by 40 men over, a 1,500-year period on 3 different continents, from kings to farmers wrote this book, and it's been inspired by God. And there's many chapters, many books, many different stories. And so that's what I do a lot. And I try to read, God's word, and it changes your heart and your mind. And that's something I do. And, I also would recommend, read, call people, keep in touch with people, check on people that you hadn't talked to in a long time.
Yeah, a lot of people take their eye off the prize right now, and they watch the media and get their nerves tore up. I've been there. I don't like to watch the news, but you hear your people talking, you hear your family talking, your neighbors. How important is it to not focus on the bad stuff and get our mind set on something a little bit better?
Yeah, it is hard. And, I used to always tell my guys before we wrestled, fear causes you to freeze. Faith causes you to move. And I feel like, the devil loves to use the fear tactic on people. He likes to scare people, and, he brings a lot of anxiety on people. And, but you can't watch the news like 24/7 like a lot of people do, because you'll go crazy because you don't know what's happening. And, read something, that, like I said earlier, this book, the Bible, has so many different stories of encouragement and hope. Amazing things, people coming out of nowhere, and God, restores them and brings them back. And, he's our hope during this crazy time.
No doubt about it. And that's really where your hope should be all the time, but especially during this time, right?
Yes, more so than ever. Really, Chase, I truly believe, think about it. We worship wrestling. It's been taken away from us. We worship all these professional athletes and college athletes, all the sports taken away from us. We worship Hollywood, taken away. We worship musicians and entertainment entertainers taken away from us. We worship money. It's starting to dwindle away. We worship, you can name it, it's all been put on pause. And I truly believe, God's trying to say, hey, what about me? I created this earth. I created you. I created everything in it. And you guys have turned your backs on me. And so I think it's a great time for reflection and a great time to get back to what's really important in this world.
Right, and family. If I talk to my class, my PE class, about values a lot, and I talk about my faith, my family, my fitnesses, my fitness and my finances.
Yes.
Sometimes, faith has always got to be number one, but my family, it drops during wrestling season, it drops during baseball season, and now it's nothing but family time, and it's been pretty cool. Now they are
Yeah.
driving me crazy a little bit. There's no escaping them.
Right.
But I just
Oh
sit there
no.
and, like, when my kid goes to sleep, I'll just hug him and just lay with him and just love on him, and just, it's an amazing opportunity to just slow down a little bit.
Oh man. Hey, you know something? In the Bible, God created the family unit first. Adam and Eve, the family, not the church, not the job, not the wrestling team, the baseball team, but the family. Hey, and really your wife comes first and then your kids. And that's the way, God created it. And that's why this time has given us unbelievable time with our families. And sure, sometimes, it's hard. You're not used to having everybody around, but I think it's a great thing to have that. And, and I think that's the way we were created to do, for husbands to lead their families and they're the spiritual leader of their home.
Right. Right, and that's awesome, and it's a definitely an opportunity to just like I said, slow down, unwind, catch your breath. Because me and my wife and kids, I got two kids. We're typically running 100 miles an hour. Like, our stress levels are high, and right now they're not as high anymore. And it feels pretty nice not to have to run to t-ball practice, run to wrestling practice, go open the gym, da 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 da. It's cool. I mean, it's
Yes.
been pretty cool. Let's talk
No.
about coaching. This has been great. Let's get
Sure.
off the coronavirus. Let's talk about cool stuff. Looking at your stats, I did a little research on you today. Where did it go? 610 and 89. What is that? Do you know what that is? Do you even know?
I do, because people always ask me, and yes, and they even gave me a little, I guess, plaque from Orange High when I retired of our, accomplishments and record, and so yeah, the Lord has blessed me. It's almost like the longer you hang in there at a place, it's kind of, it's like you're putting money in the bank, and it grows and grows and grows and grows. And so when you're at a place for 29 years, and your stability, and you have great coaches and wrestlers and families around you, good things happen.
Absolutely, and that's you said 29 years. That is unbelievable.
Yes.
But that wasn't your
Yeah.
only coaching stop, was it? That's not where you started, was it?
No, I started at Chapel Hill High School, and a really amazing story. I went into business when I graduated college. I was a health and PE major, and when I was finishing my my degree, there was a gentleman named Mark Greenberg, and he had a company that was developing shopping centers, and he was a wrestler from Easton, Pennsylvania, and he said, hey, would you like to try sales? And I said, yeah, I'd love to, because I had some friends doing that. So I worked 3 years developing shopping centers and doing the leasing part of it. But he allowed me to volunteer. And when I volunteered, I said, this is what I want to do. So I went back and got certified. And Chapel Hill gave me a job. I was the head wrestling assistant football coach, but I couldn't get a teaching job there. I was only a full-time sub, and I just got married, so I needed to find a full-time job. And 3 days before school opened, I got a job at Grady Brown Elementary School in Hillsborough, and that was the start of my Orange High coaching career, and I coached at the high school.
Yeah, and a lot of people complain now about education and the pay, but back then, coaching weren't going to pay the bills, and coaching doesn't pay the bills now, does it?
And it doesn't. It's like we're missionaries, and we're missionaries to our schools, because we surely don't make a lot. But the rewards of coaching and teaching are just amazing. And I really feel like God rewards you through the relationships, the friendships, and just, building into young people's lives and sowing into their lives and giving them hope and giving them, just a faith that they can make it in this world and they can use their God-given abilities to make a difference in this world.
Absolutely. And would you say that every individual on earth has something inside of them that could potentially they could use for God's glory?
Absolutely. I used to hear like old time pastors say, God doesn't make any junk, and everybody has gifts and talents that he has given them. And when you put him first in your life, wild and crazy things happen. He takes you to places you never ever thought you would go, and you accomplish things you never ever thought you would accomplish. And that's Matthew 6:33. Seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all things shall be added to your life. He will use what he's given you for his glory, Chase.
I love that. And I've heard you say it so many times, and I smile every time you say it. How would you recommend for someone who's lost or doesn't know how to find those gifts? What would you tell them to do to figure out what their gift is?
Well, the first thing is a relationship with Christ, because he's the one that gives us everything we have, and he has a purpose and a plan for our lives. And reading God's word and reading other books about people that have gone through all these different trials, but they give God the glory because he's always there and he's always waiting for us. We just need to tap in to his love and his power. And, I just know for me, it's changed my life. I've been a Christian for 39 years and I'm growing. I tell people I'm a skanker dog saved by grace, and people always say, Coach, you're a great guy. I was like, you need to talk to my wife and kids, because they live with me. I'm not perfect. I make a lot of mistakes, but when I focus in on God and his purpose, his plan, and he reveals that through his word and through people, and being plugged into a local church, it's so important in this world, Chase. It really is.
Yeah, just a quick story for me. One of my goals has been to meet Tim Tebow for a long time. And right before this coronavirus thing took off, I had that opportunity. He spoke at the Ignite Men's Conference at Liberty University. Have you ever been to that conference?
Wow. No, it sounds like it's an amazing conference.
Oh, it was, man. It had all kinds of great speakers there. Marcus Luttrell, the lone survivor. It had all kinds of guys there. Hey, buddy. My little son just ran out here in his boxers and his boots.
I love it.
But during that time, obviously it was sketchy going up there because everybody's like, hey, you don't need to be around all these people. It was right at the beginning of the virus, the outbreak or whatnot.
Right.
I said, nothing's going to stop me from going here. I've got this goal. I know God's got a plan for me on the other side of this mission. And we're standing there, and Tim Tebow got off stage, and I promise you, Coach, something said go, and I just went. And I found Tim Tebow. Everybody else stayed in there and listened to the next speaker, but something told me to go. Would you say that was God talking to me?
Hey, God works in mysterious ways. I don't know, but it sure looks like he had a plan for you.
Right. And when I didn't know where to go, I would just follow. I mean, I turned left. I didn't have any direction to go left, but eventually I ran right smack dab into Tim Tebow, and I thought it was, I praise God tremendously for that because I thought that was him working. I know that was him working.
Yep.
So you said, he can do some wild and crazy things when you put him first, right?
You can. Also too, the Bible says that, when you put him first, he gives you the desires of your heart. And I'm not sure exactly what that means, but it sure sounds like he gave you the desires of your heart that day.
Right. And I wrote this goal down, a couple years ago. And when I had the opportunity, my wife looked at me. We were actually in church, and my church group was going. And she's like, you should go. And I said, you know what? I think I should. And, a couple weeks later, Corona comes out. And she said, are you still going to go? I said, I think I need to go. So I just kept plugging along with it. Even when I thought he wasn't going to be there. And I heard even some of the people talking, oh, he's not going to be there. I never let that bother me. I kind of just kept my own. I said, I'm not worried about that. They don't know. Only God knows. So hey, a couple hours later, he walked out on stage, and I was tickled to death.
That is neat. That is neat.
want to look at your Orange career a couple more times here. I looked at it. It was 24 individual state championships. Coach, when I get into a blood round match, and I know you've had many, how would you describe that feeling on the inside for your seniors that you don't know this could be their very last match? How does that feel for you?
You get so nervous, and you want your kids to do their very best, and you want your kids to wrestle their best at this time so they get an opportunity to go to states. Because, the next week at states is a totally different week than regionals. Crazy stuff happens. You have guys that have never lost go to states, the regional champs, and go 0-2. We have other guys that end up fourth in the region, end up winning the state. So, during that blood round, you're just so intense and so into the match, and you're so keen on directing you want to coach your child to the best of their ability and or her ability, and just be focused in and just do the very best as a coach also.
That's right. And you said her ability. We did have our first North Carolina state champion that was a female this year, right?
Yeah, that's amazing.
And she was tough too. It wasn't like she was a slouch.
Yeah.
She was a tough kid.
Yeah, she was.
How do you see that women's game growing? Do you think it's going to continue to elevate?
Yeah, it's really amazing. 2 years ago, I was in California at an FCA wrestling camp. My friend Jose Campo has a camp there, and I think there was about 70 athletes at the wrestling camp. It was like a multi-sport camp. Like 1,200 athletes were there, but wrestling had about 70, and probably 25 of the wrestlers were girls, and,
right.
And they were tough, and they were very well disciplined. They were always learning, and it was neat to see. It really was.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've got one female in my middle school program, and I had one that was a senior. She started, but she didn't pan out. So I have had the opportunity, and people ask me, what do you do different? I was like, man, you got to treat them the same. You can't treat them differently.
Right. It is. I've only had one girl in our program in my 29 years, and so it was hard because she was JV. So we were blessed with a big program, and we had a JV room and a varsity room, so it was a little bit different. So I didn't have a lot of interaction, with her.
Right. Yeah, and you had such a big program at Orange. I mean, 50, 60 kids every year, right?
Yeah, we really did, and just we were so thankful, and we always said strength in numbers was part of our success. And
right.
and having guys that would come back to our program after they graduated and coach, like Spencer Poteet, he was my assistant for 20 years. Kevin Woods, was assistant for 12 years, and then also, or maybe even longer. And then Aaron Carr was at our middle school, wrestled for me, was at our middle school for 18 years. So it was crazy how just the stability and unity of the coaching staff really made a big difference.
Right, and I think I know the answer to this. Is a question I had for you. If you were just to start over and you hit the reset button on your career, what one thing would you continue to use and incorporate in Orange High School if you were there again, to do it all over again? Like, what one characteristic would you continue to drive home?
I think the one characteristic that we tried to always do is treat every athlete the same, love them, make them feel special and part of the program. And when you do that, every kid wants to run through the wall for you. Even if he's third string, he feels part of your program. And so I would say that is the one thing that we would, I would still remain to do. And I think, in the long run, it's more than wrestling. You're teaching these guys. You're teaching them life values, life principles, wrapped in morality, wrapped in, biblical principles. And, that's what athletics are for, to teach these guys life lessons and values.
And would you say you'd keep it a family affair?
Always, and it's kind of neat. My son took my job at Orange as a PE guy, and also he helps out Spencer Poteet, who's the new head coach. And so, they work together. It's really crazy. Back in the day, Spencer lived with us when he was in high school. So it's just really neat how the Orange program has this, had a lot of guys that care about the kids, and it's more about the coach. It's about the Team Orange, and so that's the one really neat thing.
When I first started coaching wrestling, Christian Stewart told me I was his athletic director, and he would always cry at these banquets, and I'm like, what is wrong with this guy? How can he cry every time he talks about these wrestling programs? Well, my second year as a wrestling coach, I figured that out real quick. There is an emotional tie to these kids that is unlike any other sport I've ever experienced. Would you agree with that?
I do because we spend so much time, and these guys work so hard. Chase, my last couple of years, I would stand there running practice. I ran practice for 28 years, and I stand in the front of the room. I'm like, why do these guys do this sport? It is nuts. Every day, it's hard. It's a sacrifice sport. They're cutting weight, having to take a test during the day, a day of a match. All the things, they sacrifice their time, their energy, and just to be part of a team, and they wrestle for their brothers. And it is, the ties are so strong, and I agree. It's like no other sport.
Absolutely. Look, a couple more things and we'll get you off. I know you're a busy guy. Working with the UNC athletes and having such a great high school coaching career, what do you see that separates the college guys from the really good high school guys that never pan out in college?
That's a great question. I think one, living right and doing the right things, not getting caught up in the party scene, is a big part of making it in the next level. Believe in confidence, believe it in yourself, believe it in your coaches, always trying to improve, always trying to be, the best in every position, physically, mentally, being strong. And I think that's the difference. And, I see guys grow as wrestlers as they enter into college and not being burnt out. Some kids are burnt out, and you can see it that they it's not in their heart anymore, and they're just going through the motions. Where some guys, I feel like when they get to college, they're fresh. And they're ready to grow and learn and give their all. So I hope that makes sense.
Absolutely, yeah, it does. And you said learn, and at North Carolina, you guys have, oh my goodness, what a star-studded lineup of coaches you have. You want to speak on that a little bit?
Sure. It's really neat. When I started working with them as their team chaplain, character coach 3 years ago, there was a guy by the name of Neil Erzman, who's one of the assistants. He is now the head coach of Little Rock. They started a brand new program. And
he's a great guy.
He approached great guy. Yeah, he is, because that's right. I forgot. Yep, you know him. And he said, hey, Coach, Coleman and I have been talking about being a team chaplain. Would you be interested? And I said, yeah, I think I would, because I knew I was going to start working with FCA. And so anyway, but Neil was a guy that he wrestled Oklahoma State, and he was Coleman's #1 assistant. Coleman was third in the Olympics in 2012, 4-time NCAA champion, coming from a big program like Oklahoma State. Then you have Tony Ramos, who comes from another great program, NCAA champ, world team member. And so it's amazing everybody's gifts and talents that they have, and they bring this into a program. And so everybody feeds off of these guys. We had another guy named Bryce Hassman. He's no longer with the program. He brought in, his toughness and things that he learned. Oh. And so it's really neat. He was he's Olympic alternate. So, we have all these different coaches that come in. And,
you talk about
now
Bryce was intense.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Bryce was super intense, right?
Yeah, he was. Very intense. Very intense. Yeah, and his dad was a high school coach. And so you have all these different, coaching abilities. And these guys come from programs. They've been around some of the greatest wrestlers. So they bring in different things that they learned. Wrestling is a sport where nobody creates all this stuff. They learn from somebody who learned from somebody who learned from somebody. And so, that's how it works.
And not to forget Kenny Mundy too, right? I mean, he's helping you guys out.
Oh gosh, Yeah, he's our RTC coach. I forgot about Coach Monday. And, and Jordan Oliver has been training all year. And Jordan Oliver is a tremendous wrestling talent. And really, he's like an encyclopedia of wrestling. And so you have all these guys in the program trying to help these guys reach their goals.
It's that iron sharpening iron mentality, right?
It is. Proverbs 27:17, as one man sharpens another. Very important. Very important.
Yeah, we need some of that iron in today's times, right?
Oh, boy, we do, more than ever. And like I said earlier, at the very beginning of the conversation, everything's been put on pause. What's the most important thing in your life? Wrestling is great, but if wrestling is your God, it's going to let you down. That's why, like I said earlier, when you put God first in your life, wild and crazy things happen. He's given you these wrestling gifts and abilities. Well, use them for his glory, not your glory. And, he has a purpose and a plan for all of us.
Right. Right. All right. Kind of wrapping up here. I checked out YouTube and I found some old school footage of Bobby Schreiner in action. Oh man, I was so excited to find that. Do you know about this video floating around about with you in it?
Yeah, probably because my son didn't ask me my permission and put it out. Is it from high school?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, Roselle Park High School, Roselle Park, New Jersey. Frank Antonelli, my high school coach. Sammy Appello, assistant, along with Nick Florio and Tony Gomez.
and you remember every one of them. That's crazy. So I look at this coach, Bobby Schreiner, and I've been watching him for a while, and I see this intense look in his eye when his kids are in a match. Nicest guy you'll ever meet, but there's an alter ego in there. Would you say that's correct?
Well, it's funny. I have a friend named Randy Dennis. He said he thought I was a serial killer when he met me because he said I was too nice.
You reel them right in and then you take their head off, right?
That's what he said. He said he could not believe that I was the person I was. But I think the Lord gives everybody different gifts, and motivation, I think, is a gift of mine. It always has been. I've always had that gift to be able to motivate people. And intensity is a great thing. And, we're always intense for our guys. And I learned when I was a beginning coach that with the officials, you just got to let it go and you can't argue with them.
Right.
And I remember like my second year, I think I made a fool of myself. And from that point on, the Lord really showed me, like, what kind of example are you if you're going to be an idiot out there? And so I learned years ago that you treat the officials, with respect, and you might not agree with them, and you might say, I thought that was, but that's life though, because they're human too, and they make mistakes as well as we do.
Oh yeah, no doubt. And you can't, if you're thinking about the mistakes they made, and we teach this at MindZ, if you're locked in on what they're doing, what are you focusing on? Not what you're doing, and you're going to get beat. Almost like what you said,
Absolutely.
Fear comes to freeze you. You start freezing up when referees make bad calls and it gets in your head, right?
Yep. It's funny. Sometimes in our matches, I sit on the bench at UNC, and sometimes I'll tell Coleman, just don't worry about it. Just coach, instead of kind of giving the ref a little piece of your mind. I was like, worry about the match. And sometimes he'll tell me, sit down, and other times he'll listen.
Right.
Right. Uh-huh.
Funny. But speaking of the alter ego, so you still with me? Yeah, I thought I lost you.
Yes.
Still with me?
Yeah.
So the alter ego, we teach a series on that as well. So you got the wimpy me, which I call Chasey Bear. Then you got the regular me, Chase Crocker. And then you got this alter ego when I'm intense and I'm locked in as Coach Croc. So who would you say will be the wimpy Bobby Schreiner? Do you have a wimpy version of yourself that needs a pat on the back, that needs something besides, the glory of God?
Absolutely. We all need encouragement, Chase. Everybody wants to be affirmed. Everybody wants to be told they're doing a good job. I don't care who you are, and that's what I try to do at UNC with our guys. We have guys in our program that were high school All-Americans. Now they're third string. And so I always try to encourage and just speak life and truth into their lives. And I need it too. My wife is the one that always fills me up. Really, I need to depend on the Lord, but sometimes you need people,
Right.
to give you that, to come alongside to encourage you and to reaffirm that things are going to be okay. All of us need that, Chase. All of us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what would you call that intense individual though? Like what makes him come out? Would you describe it besides a referee? Like where does that passion come from?
I just because you see how hard these kids work and all the time they put in and all the sacrifices they make, and you want them to do their very best and to accomplish everything that they sacrifice. And wrestling is an unforgiving sport. It does, you're not always promised to have success, but I
Right.
truly believe that what you sow into this sport will carry over into life. And you only get to wrestle a certain amount of years in your life. Some guys fortunate, very few make it to the Olympics. Very few make it to college. And just so what are we teaching, in these
Right.
sports? And so that's why I get intense because, I think these guys, they want you to know, I mean, they want to feel that you are behind them and that you're pulling, every inch of energy you have for them. And so
Right.
I've always been that way. Maybe because I grew up Italian and like they're very passionate people. I don't know, my mom and dad, my mom's all Italian, my dad's half. All my relatives were, off the boat Italian, so up in Jersey. So maybe that's what it is.
So you're a Jersey boy, but you have defected to the Carolinas. Would you call yourself Southern now?
Well, it's really funny. Yesterday, I was talking to my neighbors, Miss Sue. She's about like 88 years old, and I said, this year will be in August. I'll be here for 40 years. And I asked her if I get North Carolinian Southern status, and her daughter said, "You still use words like coffee and water and draw." So maybe they told me.
But as long as you're eating Bojangles, then you're qualified, right?
Absolutely. Eating some fat back. I had some the other day. I went in with one of my friends from FCA, Katie. We bought a half a pig, and we were cooking some bacon, and it was all fat. There was no bacon. And I was like, man, this is like fat back. Because one of my wrestlers of the past said his grandma used to use it to stop nosebleeds during wrestling matches.
Wow, that's interesting right there. Fat back
Yeah, a
for
little fat
nosebleeds. Hey, you
back.
can use it for anything. That's
That's right. Chase, I love the South. I am so grateful God brought me here. And I lived in this community above Hillsborough called Sly. It's part of Hillsborough, but I've been here for almost 28 years in this home that I live in.
right. That's amazing. I mean, and that speaks to what you said earlier. The longevity, being there, keep pouring into things. I teach my kids this in school. Short-term pain is long-term pleasure, and short-term pleasure leads to long-term pain. And you probably had some pain in the short term, but you have really wrote out an amazing high school career. You can continue to pour back now into collegiate wrestlers. You're around gold medalists and bronze medals. Man, you have had a wild ride, right?
I do. And once again, seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all things shall be added to your life. Wild and crazy things, will happen. And that's what I feel like. God's put me in places I never ever thought I'd be in. And, you accomplish things, but it's for his glory, not yours. And, one other thing, Chase, I know I'm long winded. My
No,
wife says I'm giving people cauliflower ear because I'm talking too long.
no, that's what this is all about, man. We got to get the content out there.
Well, listen, I always used to tell people, people forget your record. The trophies and the plaques in the trophy case, they fall apart, they fade, but it's the relationships that last forever. And I feel like if you love your kids and you treat them the same from the best to the least, and you make these lifelong friendships, which are some of the rewards of coaching and teaching.
Right. I've seen you handle it. I can't say that I'm like I told some of my wrestlers. I watch Bobby Schreiner, and I want his patience and his calm demeanor, and just to stand for the things he stands for. But when people come up to me and my world's going crazy, and I've got to get the microphone set up for the match and got to get the mop buckets out. And people were asking me questions. I'm like, don't you know the answer to this? Stop asking me. And then I had to just put Bobby Schreiner in my head, and I just calmed down a little bit. And I said, all right, I'm going to handle this with class instead
Yeah.
of taking his head off this time.
Well, you haven't seen Bobby Schreiner all the time. I know it's setting up for the Jim King Orange Invitational. I've been stressed too, so you know, I'm not perfect either. Like I said, I'm a skanker dog saved by grace, the grace of God.
Love it, love it. So I'll leave you with this. This is kind of the first question we ask athletes and coaches when we're trying to build a relationship with them. What % of the sport of wrestling would you consider to be mental?
That is a great question. I am going to say, a good, gee whiz, 60%, 60 to 70% is mental. You know, I really believe that. And I believe a lot of the kids have the same, you know, gifts and talents. There's some that are elite that just are above everybody. But in high school wrestling, I'm going to say 60 to 70%. When kids start to believe, crazy stuff happens.
Yeah, that belief thing is so powerful, especially if you got it right and you got that special sauce called Jesus on your side, right?
It is, but when you have coaches telling you can do it, you know, that they're encouraging you and they're always pushing you and always getting you to push yourself a little bit more. I'm telling you, you're in these situations, and wrestling is such a stressful sport like no other. And sometimes when these kids realize that their coaches behind them, their families are behind them, you know, they give their best effort.
Right. Absolutely. Is there anything that you did at Orange or North Carolina does that trains the mental side of sport?
Well, you know, I think just, you know, I'd always give motivational quotes, you know, to our guys after practice and tell them some stories about people that have gone through hard things in their life. And I learned that from a coach by the name of Bill Hodgson, was my football coach at Chapel Hill the year I was an assistant. I learned so much from that man in terms of coaching. One, caring for your kids, but two, he would motivate these guys all throughout the week after practice, leading up to the game on Friday. And so, you know, I kind of took that, always having quotes on our wall, always talking about different situations of people overcoming difficult situations in their life.
And you said that word hope. And it's funny because it ties into something I heard earlier, I guess last week. My days are kind of running like mashed potatoes all together right now. Hold on, possibilities exist. Or hearing other people's experiences. So when people need hope, they can look at those Bible stories. They can see somebody who's failed, that has now, like a Dave Ramsey who lost everything and now has way more than he ever could ever have, right?
Right.
People's experiences and people's, you know, possibilities exist. That's something that people can always hold on to with that word hope, right?
Absolutely. You know something? Easter is Sunday. And, you know, you think about it, Jesus was crucified on Friday. He had a thief on the left side, a thief on the right side. And the thief on the, I believe it was on the left side, said, if you're the king of the Jews, save yourself. Where the other one said, remember me in paradise. And it's just like God. God gives us a chance to the very end of our life. People can always change. You know, it's through God's grace and his mercy on us. But people can change through him. You know, that's why you have people, you know, have done all kinds of horrible things, and God gives them another chance. And
right.
Because we're all sinners. We're all, yeah, we are. But it's the grace of God that gives us another chance. And, you know, it's the blood of Christ that gives us another chance.
That's awesome. Well, I thank God that he put you in my life because, like I said, you're a shining example of the way it's supposed to be done, how it's supposed to be done. I appreciate your time, and I hope to shake your hand again real soon. How about that?
Oh, that would be wonderful, Chase. And we're just praying that this virus, you know, passes over, you know, our country, and you know, we're just praying for that. But yes, that would be wonderful. That'd be wonderful.
Well, Coach, if you need anything from me, feel free to give me a holler. And again, thank you so much for your time. I think this is going to be very, very entertaining.
Well, thank you, Chase. Thanks for even thinking about me to do this too. It's been It's been an honor. I mean, honestly, I love this, having an opportunity just to share what God has done in my life, because it's, all the gifts come from Him, everything we have. So, but thank
Right.
you.
I got Mike Joyner next. You know Mike?
I don't think I do.
Okay, athletic director at Wake Forest. He actually was my high school baseball coach, so I'm going to try to get him on the horn here in the next couple.
Wow,
Do something very
that
serious.
is great. Okay,
Good.
great.
Well, I
All right,
appreciate
Chase.
your time, Coach, and we'll look forward to seeing you soon.
All right, take care. Thank you.
Take care. Bye bye.
Bye bye.